Welcome to your daily dose of sci-fi adventures. New stories dropped every single day. Smash that subscribe button and ring the to help us reach 1,000 subscribers and unlock even more epic cosmic tales. The starship Astra Concordia drifted through the violet-hued void like a solitary pearl, its hull gleaming under the distant light of Zari's prime sun. Within its gleaming corridors, Ambassador Elise Monroe stood before a panoramic viewport, arms folded as she surveyed the planet below. Zari's prime was renowned across 1,000 systems for its crystal forests, towers of bioengineered silicates that refracted sunlight into shifting rainbows, and for the vast treaty plaza, where more than 200 alien civilizations gathered. In peace, today, Monroe thought, humanity would step onto that plaza for the first time. As the Astra Concordia descended, the ship's automated translators buzzed softly with Xarixian diplomatic protocols. Crew members in crisp gray uniforms double-checked presentation crates, holocubes of Earth's greatest art, vials of genetically stabilized rainwater, and data shards containing the complete works of Shakespeare, Beethoven, and the Athena Digital Archive of Earth's scientific achievements. Beneath the veneer of courtesy, however, men and women hardened in the Deathworld legions readied themselves engineers, ensuring the Valkyria fighters were mission-capable, intelligence officers reviewing emergency exfil routes, and military advisors brushing dust from human standard carbines now cradled beneath ceremonial capes. At the massive plaza, towering spires of crystal and steel gleamed in the midday sun. A crowd formed around the central dais, the tall, lithe Xaricians with their oil-slicked skin, the squat, multi-limbed Keru, trading laughter with the stoic, flame-haired Vaishari merchants, the tranquil Sililin, whose bioluminescent tatters of cloth flickered in rhythm with their heartbeats. Hover vehicles glided past, broadcasting anthems of interstellar unity in dozens of tongues. It was a spectacle of diversity that even the most seasoned diplomat found overwhelming. Admiral Saphir, the consortium's foremost peacemaker, glided forward, his robes, woven from nano-threaded silks, that shifted color with his mood, rippled in a breeze that smelled faintly of ozone and jasmine. With a bow that seemed to bend the light around him, he welcomed the human delegation. Citizens of Earth, he intoned, voice resonant but gentle, we honor your courage in joining the Great Treaty. Your arrival heralds a new dawn of cooperation. Monroe stepped onto the platform, her boots clicking on the crystalline tiles. She wore a tailored uniform of deep midnight blue, the sash of an ambassador secured with Earth's emblem, a silver circle cradling a tiny green sphere. Microphones extended. From the days translated her every word into the galaxy's lingua franca, Tarixian. Admiral Saphir, esteemed delegates, friends of the cosmos, she began, voice steady. Humanity seeks knowledge, friendship, and most of all, peace. We bring with us fragments of our world, art that transcends our differences, music that unites our hearts, and most importantly, an earnest desire to learn from you. There was polite applause. From the edge of the crowd, a young Vaishari artist unfurled a living tapestry, a shifting weave that depicted the tumultuous birth of her home world's first spacefaring ships. A Keru scholar presented a crystalline codex of ancient star charts. Cameras hovered, capturing the moment for billions of viewers across the galactic network. Yet amid the fanfare, subtle glances passed among veteran Deathworlders standing at the plaza's periphery. Lieutenant Mara Glassjaw Ortega observed the crystalline spires with practiced wariness, structures that could twice shatter her joints if targeted. Ensign Koji Frostbite Yamada's eyes lingered on the plaza's supply tunnels, calculating possible infiltration routes. They had seen worlds consumed by betrayal, treaties undone in blood. Here, on this peaceful world, the tension beneath the ceremony was a familiar hum. After the initial exchanges, Monroe guided her delegation to the Reflection Gardens, a segmented oasis of floating platforms amid a shallow, mirror-like pool. Here, diplomats mingled over the sip of Xarixian night bloom tea and sampled human delicacies, spiced fruit pasty, fermented grains, and crystalline confections fashioned from Earth's rarest sugars. Conversations flowed. A Sililin philosopher and a human xenop psychologist debated the ethics of mind melding. The Keru military attaché quietly questioned the endurance statistics of Earth's Death World legions. Even the Akri textile masters inquired about the tensile strength of human-forged steel. Yet when the lights dimmed and the orchestra of the Vaishari strings rose to play a nocturne, a different current rippled through the gathering. In hushed tones, rumors of humanity's origins on Death Worlds circulated. Tales of forests where the very air burned with acid mists, oceans so frigid they crystallized flesh on contact, and skies where predator drones ruled like gods. The polished smiles of Monroe's delegation concealed warriors who had clawed their way out of bioengineered hellscapes. It was an irony the galaxy's elites were only beginning to appreciate. Those who spoke most softly often harbored the sharpest blades. As the first Zari's prime moon rose an opalescent shard in the dark sky, Monroe lingered at the garden's edge. She watched Admiral Sathir speak with the Vaishari Chancellor about potential mining agreements, and she listened, just faintly, as a Keru envoy murmured, "They're playing a game with us, but we don't yet know the stakes." Monroe allowed herself a small, measured nod. The true test of this mission had yet to begin, and when it did, the galaxy would discover that humanity's greatest ambassadors were also its deadliest guardians. Asterisk beneath the glittering spires of Zari's prime, the treaty's bright veneer concealed a warren of twisting alleys and hidden corridors, the Undercity, where neon signs glowed against rain-slicked stone and every shadow whispered of secrets. It was here that Captain Razik Ironhand Talbot led his Death World task force under cover of darkness, their boots silent against the damp pavement. Each member was drawn from humanity's harshest worlds. Dr. Sienna Frostbite Yamada, trained to endure Europa's acid mists; Sergeant Blitz Marquez, who had survived the glass shard deserts of New Terra; and Specialist Kai Nightshade, Obed, a recon expert forged in Titan's methane storms. Their mission: infiltrate the clandestine conclave of warlords clustering beneath Zari's Prime's treaty halls, unmask the architects of the plot to assassinate Admiral Sathir, and uncover the strings that led those warlords to conspire with outside powers. Intelligence had traced suspicious consignments, smuggled weapons caches, mutagenic toxins, forged identity cred chips to an abandoned hydroponics plant on the Undercity's fringe. As twin moons rose, Talbot's team exfiltrated a supply tunnel and emerged amid groaning metal scaffolding and dripping irrigation pipes. Nightshade crouched at the hatch, fingers dancing over a makeshift interface to disable security locks. Within moments, the hatch hissed open, revealing the cavernous plant room where rows of fluorescent vines writhed in nutrient beds. Above them, webbed catwalks formed a tangled maze. "Distribute the EMP scramblers," Talbot ordered, his voice low and calm. "Frostbite, cover our 6. Blitz, you're with me, let's move." They crept forward in single file. Frostbite's visor shimmered as she scanned for heat signatures. Her eyes narrowed when she spotted the first guard, a hulking Brolder mercenary, whose carapaced shoulders gleamed under the grow lights. Frostbite lobbed a scrambler. It clattered at his feet and pulsed twice, frying his comms and sending him into a dazed spasm. Blitz slipped up behind, neutralizing him with a single precise shot to the back of the head. Every few meters, they planted data tap probes, tiny devices that leached encrypted communications from the plant's industrial network. Nightshade slid along a shadowed wall, her silenced pulse pistol ready. Talbot signaled her forward with a raised fist. Dot in the control chamber. Holographic monitors flickered with live feeds from throughout the Undercity. 12 figures stood around a battered conference table. The masked warlord Kalsher the Ravager, his jeweled blade leaning against his chair. The orthoperative Lady Shiren, crisp in her cobalt uniform, and a half-dozen robed delegates from fringe syndicates, their faces obscured. They exchanged words in guttural dialects enough for Talbot's team to discern the outline of the plan: simultaneous bombings at the Treaty Plaza, targeted assassinations of senior delegates, and a final strike on Admiral Sathir during his gala reception 3 nights hence. Talbot tapped Frostbite's comm. Phase 1 complete, returning to extraction point before they could retreat. An alarm blared, a retaliatory failsafe triggered by the data tap's intrusion. Red lights flooded the chamber and automated defense turrets emerged from wall panels, Sister thrums of engines announced approaching patrols. Incoming. Blitz snarled. The team dove for cover as energy bolts streaked overhead. Frostbite sprang from behind a nutrient vat and lobbed the second EMP scrambler. The turret's sparks died midstream. Nightshade sprinted to the console, ripping out data drives and shoving them into her pack. "Hurry," Talbot barked, and they bolted down a service corridor, pursued by armed sentries and the distant roar of alert klaxons. At a junction, they split. Nightshade and Frostbite distracted the guards with a pulse charge device, while Talbot and Blitz sprinted to their designated extraction shaft. Clambering into the cylindrical tube, Talbot keyed the launch sequence. A hatch sealed behind them, and the shaft's interior lights flickered green. As the capsule shot upward, below them, the plant room exploded in a cascade of fire and shrapnel. As demolisher charges set by Winter's Legion, a covert ally on the planet, obliterated the kamikaze-borne turrets, when the capsule breached the embassy's lower hull, Munster-class security locks recognized their biometric signatures and slid aside. The 4 warriors landed in a narrow corridor, weapons at the ready. Behind them, the alarm's echo faded into silence as embassy security resealed its perimeter. In the debriefing chamber, Ambassador Monroe met them with cool, pale blue eyes. On the holoscreen behind her, intercepted communications decrypted. By Nightshade scrolled in alien glyphs, now converted into Tarixan. Monroe folded her arms. "You've confirmed what we feared. They intend to blame us." Talbot allowed himself a curt nod. "They'll try to spark an interstellar incident. The Orth operative's fingerprints are all over this, but they'll cloak her tracks. We need proof." Monroe's lips curved in a grim half-smile. "Then we'll give it to them along with a demonstration of why you don't underestimate Deathworlders." Around the table, the blood-hardened eyes of the task force met one another. They had come seeking peace under the banner of diplomacy, but in the twisting veins of the Undercity, they'd drawn first blood. And when the galaxy's powers unveiled their treachery, it would be humanity's deadliest guardians who wrote the final verdict. The night sky over Zari's prime ignited in a sudden, violent bloom of light. Orbital spotters on the USS Resolute tracked Oroth blockade cruisers deploying interceptor drones around the harbor district, intent on severing the human embassy's lifeline. Satellites blinked red combat alert. Below, in the underbelly of the Treaty Plaza, Captain Razik Ironhand Talbot's ground team synchronized their watches. Frostbite checked her temperature gauges. Blitz calibrated his targeting optics. Nightshade armed her micro-EMP mines over their comm links. Monroe's voice crackled with calm authority. "Valkyria's squadron is on vector. Engage on my mark." At the edge of the plaza, the first explosion rocked the market pavilions and Undercity breach charge detonated by Winter's Legion operatives, sowing chaos among the would-be saboteurs and drawing their reinforcements away from key targets. Talbot's team surged forward, utilizing the confusion to clear civilian zones and secure the plaza's perimeter. Above them, the Valkyries tore through the sky. Squadron leader Dana Ghost Yamaguchi helmed the lead craft, the engines screaming like banshees as she wove through Oroth plasma bursts. Her wingmen flanked her, each fighter painted in Earth's black and gold war livery, carrying payloads of high explosive and guided torpedoes. "Target the cruiser's sensor rays," Monroe ordered. "Blind her first, then strike the harbor blockade." "Copy that, Resolve," Yamaguchi replied. She executed a split-S maneuver, diving straight at the largest cruiser. A volley of railgun slugs tore into the cruiser's dorsal sensors, transforming its once pristine sensor towers into jagged stumps. The cruiser's guns spasmed as targeting data scrambled. On the plaza, Talbot spotted a column of armored trucks, barreling toward Admiral Sathir's Gala 10 automated bomb launchers, concealed beneath crates of treaty relics. "Incoming convoy, 10 o'clock, he barked. Frostbite sprinted to intercept, planting magnetic mines that latched onto the vehicles. Blitz charged forward, suppressing the convoy's guardians with precision bursts. With a thunderous roar, Frostbite triggered the mines. The convoy disintegrated in a series of cascading detonations, hurling debris into the air like deadly fireworks. Civilians and diplomats ducked for cover, But Talbot's team formed a protective cordon around Admiral Sathir as he emerged from the tent. Unharmed but wide-eyed. Meanwhile, Ghost's Valkyria raced back toward the harbor. Activating her torpedo racks, she unleashed two plasma warheads at the second blockade cruiser. The warheads nestled into the cruiser's engine thrust nozzles before igniting in a silent, incandescent bloom. Hull plating peeled back like petals, and the cruiser drifted inert, its power reactors venting superheated plasma into the void. Blockade broken, Yamaguchi reported. No further orbital interference detected. On the ground, Talbot's squad converged on the cult of warlords huddled around a hijacked VIP hovercar. Kalshur the Ravager attempted to flee, but Nightshade's monofilament net snared his legs. Blitz knocked him senseless with a shock baton. Frostbite cuffed the Orcs agent Lady Shiren with pulse barrier restraints that nullified her neural implants. Within minutes, Plaza security drones reprogrammed by Monroe's team descended to secure the scene and evacuate the injured. Emergency med bots swarmed the wounded, and holographic banners flickered back to life with messages of unity. Talbot holstered his rifle and exhaled. Phase 3 complete. Warlords contained. Orcs agent in custody. All primary objectives accomplished. Monroe touched down beside him, her dress uniform dusted with ash from the detonations. The Plaza's shattered mastery of light and crystal glowed in the aftermath of battle, like a wounded beast slowly recovering. Excellent work, she said, voice low but brimming with pride. We've proven to things tonight that we defend peace with steel in hand, and that any power foolish enough to threaten it will face our wrath unflinching. Talbot met her gaze. Let's make sure they never forget. As dawn's first rays pierced the smoky haze, the USS Resolute lifted off into low orbit, carrying with it the culprits for interstellar tribunals. On the ground, delegates once skeptical of humanity's purpose now whispered in awed reverence about the Deathworlders, who had descended like avenging specters to save Zari's prime. And in every corner of the treaty halls, one sentiment echoed above all others: humans had come in peace, but they were prepared for war. Sunlight filtered through the fractured crystal arches of the grand hall, casting prismatic shards of color across the marble floor. The aftermath of battle still hung in the air-burned stanchions, smoldering rubble, and the faint hum of repair drones weaving new filaments of silicate glass. Yet amid the ruin, something remarkable took shape, an assembly of more than 200 species, gathered not in fear, but in solemn respect. Ambassador Elise Monroe stood before the days, the Aurora banner of Earth held aloft at her side. Her midnight blue uniform bore smudges of dust and ash, and the once pristine sash now showed a tear where a fragment of crystal had fallen. Still, she radiated calm authority. At her back, Admiral Sathir, his robes singed and stain surveyed the crowd with steady violet eyes. Flanking them, Talbot and his Deathworld team bore their own silent witness, armor scratched by shrapnel, weapons holstered, expressions cautious. They were the faces of humanity's hidden might, now unveiled to the galaxy. Monroe raised a hand for silence. Citizens of Zari's prime, honored delegates of the Great Treaty, she began, voice clear and unwavering. Last night we fought not for conquest, but for peace. When agents of chaos sought to shatter the summit, humanity's Deathworlders stood as your shield. Let their courage be a testament. Peace endures only through vigilance. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The Vaishari Chancellor, her fiery braids singed, stepped forward, bowing deeply. Ambassador Monroe, your people have shown us a valor we scarcely believed possible. We saw not invaders, but guardians. She gestured to Talbot's team. These Deathworlders, who walk worlds of brimstone and ice, have saved ours. From the back of the hall, the Orcs envoy, Lady Shiren, was led forward in restraints. Her cobalt uniform was soiled, and her usual icy composure fractured into a mask of anger and fear. Sathir's voice cut through the tense hush. Lady Shiren, of the Orcs Dominion, stands accused of high treason, conspiracy to commit genocide, and war crimes. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. She will answer to the Tribunal of Worlds. A ripple of approval, some muted, some vociferous, swept the assembly. Monroe allowed herself a small nod. Justice, she believed, was as vital to peace as strength later. In the reflection gardens where crystalline walkways spanned still pools now dotted with repair, drones Monroe and Talbot walked side by side. The air smelled faintly of jasmine and ionized ozone. "You played that well," Monroe said. Settling onto a floating bench, "Your team moved like shadows, but struck like meteors." Talbot's scarred face gave nothing away. He dipped a hand in the water, watching ripples refract the morning light. "We do what we must, but it's you who rallied the galaxy's will to act. Without your call, those warlords would be loose." She turned to him, sincerity in her gaze. "It was your actions that made them listen. They saw the truth of humanity's resolve, and they chose cooperation over chaos." Across the pool, Sillilan diplomats exchanged hesitant smiles with human officers. A Keru child, eyes wide with curiosity, approached Talbot, tugging at his armored leg. He knelt, offering a nod, and the child beamed before scurrying back to her parents. Monroe watched the scene. "You know," she mused, "I began this mission believing that our greatest contribution would be our culture, our art, our science, our stories. But today proved our greatest gift is our willingness to fight for peace." Talbot's half-smile was grim. "On Earth's death worlds, peace is a luxury you can't afford. You either defend it, or you die." He stood, hefting his rifle's sling. "What now, Ambassador?" She stood, smoothing her uniform. "Now, we rebuild. Zari's prime's been wounded, but its spirit remains. We'll help repair these halls, share our engineering cores, and establish a permanent human protectorate council to guard against future threats." Talbot inclined his head. "Then let's make it count." As the garden's crystal torches reignited, casting a gentle glow, Monroe and her Deathworlders returned to the Grand Hall. There, amidst the gathering of alien races, they supervised the unsealing of new agreements, clauses bolstering security, shared defense pacts, and a clause granting humanity observer status on the Tribunal of Worlds. When the final signatures glowed in the air, Admiral Sathir stepped forward. "Let this day be known as the Day of Guardians," he proclaimed, voice echoing beneath the arches. "May it remind us that the greatest strength is the courage to protect what we cherish." In that moment, as delegates from every corner of the galaxy stood and applauded, humanity's Deathworlders, once mere legends of survival, became living symbols of hope. And in the luminous aftermath of Revelation, the treaty world of Zari's prime found not only new allies, but a firm pledge. As long as humans stood watch, peace would prevail even on the deadliest of planets.